Being 7 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Baspis.
Here.
Commissioner Baker.
Here.
Commissioner Collins.
Here.
Commissioner Gary.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Talentino.
Here.
Commissioner Twardy.
Here.
Okay, we're all here. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much. I would also ask those with cell phones if you would put them on vibrate or turn them off. We would appreciate it. Let's see, going down to item B, proclamations and recognitions. We have 2018 Garden of the Year Award winners, and I understand there's at least one family here in the audience that is getting an award. So Oliver Turner, our city manager, will talk a little bit about that at the mic, and I'll join you there to hand them a small thank you. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and public. As the Mayor just indicated, every year the city organizes a Garden of the Year campaign, and this is in line with the City Commission's goal to promote beautification in all areas, public and private. And certainly every year it's competitive. There are a number of candidates out there which are very well-attended gardens, and we're excited to see the enthusiasm that we've had for this program, the turnout, the nominations. It's a great participatory type of event, and the only qualifications are that you cannot have received a winning prize within the past 3 years to be eligible to receive this. So certainly there are 3 properties and 3 property owners which have been selected for this year. And at this time, I'll turn it over to the Mayor, and I can flip through the pictures. And the first property is 213 East 13th. And Deputy City Manager is flipping through the photographs of the garden. And this property is owned by Earl and Tina Kay. And they are here. And the second property is 404 Emmett Street, owned by Pam Doran. And finally, the last property is 2151 Davitt Street, owned by Linda Gregorini. And again, certainly congratulate the winners and look forward to next year's campaign. Thank you very much.
And we certainly thank them for their participation this year. And I understand there were about 7 or 8 properties that were looked at, and those are the 3 winners. So we do congratulate them. Thank you. Item C is the public comment portion, and this is a chance and opportunity for anyone that would like to speak on an agenda item. They can let us know, and during that agenda item, we'll call you up to have you get 3 minutes to talk about that particular item. I believe there's at least one way in the back. Yes, would you like to speak on the one item? That's if you give us your name, Wes, we'd appreciate it. And that's item F1, as I understand it. F1 on the agenda. on the storage of vessels at the Harvey Marina? Okay. When we get to that item, we'll give you a chance to speak. And you'll do it up here at the front, okay? Yes. No. No, when we get to that item, thanks. Yes, Mark. F1. F1? Yes. Okay. And can we have your name too, Mark? Mark Myers. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Item number D is the consent agenda. Deputy City Manager.
Item 1, approval of the City Commission meeting minutes of September 4th, 2018. Item 2, acceptance of the Airport Advisory Board minutes of August 9th, 2018. Item 3, acceptance of the Community Services Board meeting minutes of August 28th, 2018. Item 4, acceptance of the Downtown Development Authority meeting minutes of May 9th, June 13th, July 11th, and August 8th of 2018. Item 5 is acceptance of the Economic Development Corporation meeting minutes of August 14th, 2018. Item 6 is acceptance of the Tax Increment Authority Unit 3 meeting minutes of August 14th, 2018. Item 7 is to appoint Nikki Dowd McKechnie to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a term to expire on June 1, 2020. Item 8 is from the Downtown Development Authority, Board resignations and appointments. Item 9, approval of MDOT contract number 18-5402 for bridge rehabilitation work on Bingham Avenue Bridge. And item 10 is from the Ordinance Evaluation Committee, invitation for public feedback on modification to several code chapters. Item 11 is approval of the consent agenda items as presented.
Okay, thank you. At this time, is there a commissioner that would like something further explained on the consent agenda? Hearing none, Commissioner Twardy.
I so move that we approve the consent agenda.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Are there any questions? Roll call, please.
Mayor Bosmas,
Yes.
Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Twardy.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Item E, special orders of business. 1, public hearing on a resolution to vacate with retention of utility easements the full width of West 20th Street north of West 3rd Avenue.
Okay, thank you very much. City Manager Turner.
Thank you, Mayor. On this matter, Community Development Director Freeman will present.
Evening, Kelly.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. So this is an item that was brought forward by the city's engineering department, and it concerns a vacation at the intersection, or near the intersection of West 3rd Avenue and West 20th Street.
Thanks, Bon. So the applicant in this case is requesting the vacation with the retention of utility easements, as there's a storm sewer that runs through the area. The area itself is partially improved. There's 2 driveways that serve the adjacent residences, but otherwise it's unimproved. Here's a closer look at the area to be vacated. Here's West 20th and West 3rd Avenue. There's no public use to speak of because it only provides access to 2 adjoining residents. And additionally, those 2 adjoining parcels will continue to have access, so there's no problems with potential landlocking occurring. Additionally, there's no impact on the storm drainage network or the road network. And with the retention of utility easements, there's no impact on utilities. I've spoken to both of the adjoining owners, and they have no objection. And with the retention of utility easements, there's no objection from any of the utilities. The Planning Commission heard the request at their meeting on August 23rd and recommended that it be approved unanimously with the retention of utility easements. And that concludes my presentation.
Anyone have any questions of Kelly this time? City Manager, anything that you'd like to add?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a reminder that the recommended action is a motion to approve the included resolution to vacate with the retention of utility easements the full width of West 20th Street north of West 3rd Avenue, and a public hearing would be required prior to this action being considered by the City Commission.
Okay. At this time, we will hold the public hearing to the vacate and with the retention of utility easements, the full width of West 20th Street north of West 3rd Avenue. Is there anyone in the audience that'd like to comment on this vacation? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioner Talentino.
Sure, I'd make a motion to approve the included resolution to vacate with the retention of utility easements the full width of West 20th Street north of West 3rd Avenue.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Are there any questions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Collins?
Yes.
Commissioner Gary?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino?
Yes.
Commissioner Tuorty?
Yes.
Mayor Bosbus.
Yes. Motion carried. Thank you.
Item 2 is public hearing on a resolution to vacate with retention of utility easements the full width of Hanover Drive between Mann Drive and St. Mary's River Drive.
Okay, thank you. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. On this matter, again, Mr. Freeman will present.
Good evening again. This is an application submitted by John Merlot as well as co-applicants Jason and Lacey Warjanowski, and concerns Hanover Drive between Mann Drive and St. Mary's River Drive. You can see generally here the location of the area requested to be vacated. The area is unimproved. That subdivision was created, I think, in the 1950s, and the road was never put in. And they are requesting the vacation of that right-of-way without utility easements. Here's kind of a closer look. There's no road in there. It's just more or less grass. There's no properties that depend on that right-of-way for access. There's 4 adjacent owners, and the 2 that have applied jointly control 60% or own 60% of the frontage along that right-of-way, with the remaining 40% divided between 2 others at 20% each. The applicant and co-applicants, their property is shown in blue. Mr. Forrest property is shown in green, and then the Bagby's property is shown in purple. Mr. Forrest wrote to object to any vacation within the Riverview Subdivision. AT&T said they have got facilities within Hanover and request the retention of a utility easement. The Bagbys were present at the Planning Commission meeting, and they're not here tonight that I can see. Mr. Bagby was a little bit hesitant, and Mrs. Bagby said she had no problem with it. The recommendation made by the Planning Commission was unanimous approval with the retention of the utility easements, subject to AT&T's request, and subject to a public hearing to follow. The recommendation is that the resolution included with your packet be approved as presented.
Okay, thank you.
And the Merlots are here if there's any questions of them.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? City Manager, you'd like to add anything?
Thank you, Mayor. Again, the motion that's recommended is to approve the included resolution providing for the vacation as detailed by Mr. Freeman. And as before, a public hearing will be required prior to consideration on the action.
Commissioner Gary.
I just had a question as to why Mr. Forrest objected.
He didn't elaborate. It was just a one-sentence reply. And he did not communicate with me thereafter, so.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, at this time, thank you, Kelly. At this time, we'll hold a public hearing on the resolution to vacate with the retention of utility easements the full width of Hanover Drive between Mann Drive and the St. Mary's River Drive. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to comment on this vacation? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Let's go to Commissioner Baker.
Make a motion to approve the included resolution to vacate with the retention of utility easements the full width of Hanover Drive between Mann Drive and the St. Mary's River Drive.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Are there any questions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Collins?
Yes.
Commissioner Gary?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino?
Yes.
Commissioner Tuorty?
Yes.
Mayor Bosbus?
Yes.
Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Item F, Communications, 1 from Commissioner Collins, discussion regarding storage of vessels at Harvey Marina.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Collins, before we go, start with you, maybe we have a gentleman that'd like to speak to that, unless you'd like to go first, and then, but we might as well save your comments till he's done. Sure. Okay. Mr. Essen, if you'd like to come to the, you have to speak fairly close to the microphone. This is for the folks that are, maybe raise it up a little bit. All right.
Oh,
Wes, if you'd identify yourself for the record, we'd appreciate it. If you'd identify yourself for the record, we'd appreciate it.
I'm Wes Essen.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, I've been, well, a bunch of us have been parking a boat at the City Marina for the winter for about 20, 25 years. And when they started the new building down there, Bud Clark was in charge. 4 of us dug the trenches along the pier for the water and electrical. I did a lot of the plumbing work. So in return, Bud Clark created that place by the ramp for us to park our boats for the winter, put gravel in. I think he did it for in return. Now, we don't cost the city nothing. We don't do any damages. And we clean our messes up. And we no ruts in the building. Now, there is talk about stopping us from doing that after 20 years, 25 years. And I can't see any reason why we can't still be continuing what we're doing. There's only a few of us, and most of us have had slips, season slips, or summer slips at the marina. And I'm not there now, but in the summertime, but I have been for quite a few years. Now, that whole parking lot is loaded with fishermen and trailers, and they leave them there for, I know, a week at a time anyway. The grass grows about a foot high, and we should have the same rights as those people do all summer. And it's a mess down there in the summertime with a tournament of fisher people, and nothing's done about them. So why should we have to change our location? In fact, our boats are too big that we can't go anywhere else. Nobody in the area can handle us because we're too big, and I'm too high to get under the power lines. So I'm in a jam right now for parking for the winter. And I'd like to continue that we've been doing for 20 years, 25 years.
I guess if I could just explain, you helped the marina 25 years ago when you dug the trenches and laid the lines?
Yes, when they built that new building. I could be wrong in 2020, with it close to that time.
Okay.
When they built a new building.
Okay, but you've been there for that long, and you're the only one left out of 4 that have a boat.
Yes.
And you're saying your boat's so large that, high, that it can't go under the power lines.
I
know you tried to move it one time and you ripped down 4 cable.
I wasn't popular that day.
No, nobody knew that, I guess. But, so you're the only one that's really impacted. The other 3 don't have boats or have passed on since then. And you certainly saved the city a huge amount of money when that happened. And you've been doing it for well over 20 years, I guess. And that's something that Bud worked out, and Bud was an employee here for an awful long time.
Liability for the city, we all carry our own insurance. Mm-hmm. So it's really nothing out of the city's pocket or out of their doings for us to be there.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions of Wes? Okay. Thank you for your information.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Collins.
Gentleman want to talk?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Mark, Mr. Minor, come on up.
Hello, Mark Miners.
Thank you.
Total in agreement with Wes here. I don't have my boat there, but my first 2 questions, can the city legally take in money for boat storage? And 2, should they take in money for boat storage? And that's taking business away from people in town that actually have boat storage business. there are people that count on the people who have boats to store their boats with them. I know his is too big, I didn't know that incident, but I just don't think we should be taking money away from our businesses. And the way I'd like to see it is just leave it as it is. And like he said, I drive by there all the time. There's only like 4 boats down there. And I don't really see a positive to this. And I think being a boating community, we should do anything we can to keep our boaters happy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Collins.
Yeah, so I've received several calls on this, and my thought process on it, with discussion with them and the city manager and some other people, is that it wouldn't be, obviously we want to take into consideration that we don't want to impact any local businesses for storage. But on the other side of that, as a city marina, if you actually have your boat, if you actually have a summer slip there, and your boat's too big to actually move someplace else, then give them the opportunity to rent space to basically store their boat for the winter. So it would be very, the thought process, I think, is that it would be very driven towards the people at the marina that have the boats that are too big to move anyplace else. And then and then we talked about the $35 a month fee, and you know, do you really want to get into that? Is it better just to kind of do an annual fee for someone who wants to store the boat there? And then they can have it there from the end of the season until May 15th. The other thing that I think that was discussed was, you know, is there a problem with the way that the boats look there? Most of the people that I talked with didn't have any concerns with the boats that being up on the property. Snow plowing, we talked about that as well. They indicated that that wasn't an issue. So basically just want to open up for discussion and see what the commission wants to do. Obviously, I'm in favor of doing something for the boats that have been there forever that don't have the ability to move someplace else. And obviously, I don't want to take away from the local businesses, so it wouldn't be for everybody. It would just be for people that actually have slips at the marina for the summertime. Or somebody who's grandfathered in, because I don't know if he has a slip or not.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Commission. Commissioner Gary.
I guess I'd ask the city manager what was the impetus for us to change it. I remember the vote, but I don't remember the details of it.
Thank you for that question, Commissioner. The impetus was the aesthetic concerns over boats being stored on site, which during the budget development cycle led to the fee being eliminated, with the anticipation boats would no longer be stored on the property.
I guess a question I have is that if, like, and I've been by there a number of times, and we all have a party in the wintertime, and Wes's boat is big enough where you notice it, and it's been covered. It's not been a problem. I understand there's been some problems with boats that just pull up and park there. Nobody knows who they are, or I think Commissioner Talentino might be able to also add a couple of things. I understand there was a tractor and some other things there that don't belong there. So, Commissioner Talentino?
My understanding that this first all came about when the bridge project got done south of the golf course.
Yes.
And you'll see in our letters there, and I'd like to have, hopefully, Mr. Wires will come up and comment on this as well. And then like anything else, it just seemed to escalate. It didn't, you know, the bridge was done, the boat stayed, then all of a sudden their trailers started staying all summer long. Then all of a sudden tractors started showing up. Then all of a sudden a pontoon showed up. Then all of a sudden a fuel transportation trailer showed up. And this stuff was sitting there all summer long, you know. And everybody knows I'm one for blight. And I got a lot of calls and comments on how good that marina has looked this summer. And I've got a list here. I did a quick Google search. There's 9 facilities that can handle boats. There's many in this area that can handle that size of boat, you know, and I don't want to see us take any business away from these business owners. They can take them to their spot. They can do outside shrink wrap. The problem is it started off with the people that were in the marina, and then all of a sudden others started to take advantage of it. That seems to happen a lot.
Commissioner Collins?
So, Commissioner Townsend, I understand what you're saying, but on the other side of it, you're taking away something that other citizens have had the ability to utilize. So the things that you brought up as far as the summertime and the tractors and so forth that showed up, that's a little bit different than somebody storing their boat there for the wintertime. I guess my thoughts on it are that if we want to be a service-oriented community and we actually have a marina, then why are we not allowing the people to store their boats there that actually have a slip at the marina? It's no different than when you go down to the George Kemp Marina and we have the ability to leave our trailers down there so that we don't have to take them. And don't get me wrong, they probably look like crap sitting there, right? But we still have the ability to do that. They've moved us a couple times as far as where we can do it, but that also allows, I guess it's kind of incentive too to have your boat at the marina. So I guess my thought process on that is that I just look at it more of a kind of a service to those people that have. And then the other side of it, when you talked about regulation or regulating the people that are there, my understanding, talking with Dan Wires and the city manager, is that the boats that would actually be authorized to be there, their MC numbers would be shown, and then anybody that has anything there other than that boat, they would be towed away at the owner's expense. Anyways, that's my comment.
Commissioner Baker.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with my next comment was, as far as, is there a way to regulate it to where it's just for slip owners from the city and ticket or tow anybody that's doing it illegally? And that way we can all, everybody is happy.
City manager?
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, I'd invite Mr. Wires to provide some additional background on this if it pleases the commission, but to address the specific questions of Commissioner Baker, it's my understanding that yes, this could be structured so that it applies to individuals utilizing the marina.
Evening, Dan.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. A little more additional background to this issue too is over the years, that might have been prior to the George Kemp Marina, Harvey Marina was our marina, and it had a lot of transient boaters. We used to have a fuel tanks down there as well. I can't recall the year, but probably 10 plus years ago, we converted that marina through the Michigan waterways, allowed us to take that marina from transit to all seasonal. And we just didn't have enough seasonals, so they allowed that. And with that did come over the time some creep, fuel, a tractor, to get some of the larger boats that Mr. Essen talks about, to get some of them into the water. That was allowed. But over the time frames, then people were leaving trailers. They used to store them at the cemetery. We stopped that practice. So it's kind of gone a little bit of full circle. So this year, which we started talking about last year, was we want to make sure that it gets cleaned up. So the tractor, you use it in the spring, launch the boats, let's move the tractor. Let's keep the fuel out. Let's keep that area cleaned up. Certainly, boaters who come in there for fishing tournaments, you know, it's a public place. They'll drop their trailer off, and they leave their truck, they're fishing. So they're fishing all night, and sometimes we do our part to kind of keep an eye on them, and we try to move them along if need be. But going from the transient to the seasonal was a little bit of a part of this. And it was roughly 2012, officially 2012. I think there was some unofficial, a lot of the boaters were able to leave the boats there. 2012, I think we put into our fee structure, we started charging the seasonal 175 for the season, or we prorated it per month. That's something that could be changed, and maybe there's if the commission so chose to, you could change the fees. But it was roughly in 2013 when the bridge down at Mission Creek, that issue where they could not get out, it was the commission said they actually even gave them a bargain and gave them a few months that they did not have to pay. So there's been some concessions for the boaters down there. So it has been allowed, and certainly, you know, some of the things that we try to tackle is we do have a 2012-13, we have an agreement that we have with the boaters, and we collect up front. We have them sign it up front. We get their insurance up front. But sometimes boats come in the middle of the night. They leave in the middle of the night, and they're sort of shrink wrapped, and there's no trailers that have license plate numbers on them, so it's harder for us to track them. So if the commission chooses to want to go back that way, certainly one of the great ideas is to put so that we can see posted MC numbers. Because if we have 3 boats or 4 boats that are paid for, but there's 7 boats down there, it's a little bit difficult to find out which one is which unless we know that. So there are some control items that we could do if we want to change that, but the concept is to try to clean that area up. And certainly during the last point, during the summer when folks do launch their boats, we really don't allow them to keep their trailers there because it can get pretty messy down there. It gets kind of cluttered. It's for the seasonal trailers.
Where do we, if we don't allow them to put them there, I know they've been there, and maybe the grass is growing. Of course, grass grows pretty fast, so if you're there for 3 or 4 days, it's already starting to get. So have we had that where people have left their trailers there for a week or so, or 2 weeks?
Yes, we do, and we have, to be fair, over the past on Glen Avenue, we've let, for some of the folks that are at Kent Marina, we've let them put their trailers there, but we take too many complaints, because in a matter of a couple of days, the grass is growing up, and it's even hard to get people in there to line trim it, so it's where we've tried to limit that. But it does happen. Certainly when we moved the fuel tank out of the concrete area next to the boat launch, that created a nice flat area where some of the folks do leave their vessels. I think we may have 2 that are there now, getting prepared for the winter.
Questions? Commissioner Gary.
What were the majority of the complaints? Were they because there were a few big vessels that were there, or was it because of all the other junk? I guess I'm wondering. I don't think if they're well, if they're parked appropriately and if they're covered, they're really not that unsightly in my mind. But was it all the other junk that people were complaining about?
Thank you for that question, Commissioner. My understanding is that it's simply the accumulation of items on the property.
And it sounded like, for me, this sounds like some of the accumulation was staff leaving tractors or fuel storage, and now it does not. That's easily moved to a different location.
Yes, Mayor, and it was because it became a seasonal type community.
Okay.
Some of those folks, not our city staff, nothing along those lines, but like some of them were kind of like the keepers that we would work with, like their foreman down there. And one of our boaters had a tractor. One of our boaters launched the boats. One of our boaters fixed some of the boats when they needed it. So they're kind of we've kind of allowed that. But this year we backed off and said no more. We're going to clean that all up. So this year we did clean that all up, and they understood that. And we did share with the boaters at the beginning of this year that we were no longer going to be storing boats there, so this is not a surprise.
Commissioner Baker.
Is it safe to say that the difference between the summer months versus the winter months in storage, like putting the boat there for the winter, properly covered in a park spot, obviously we're not going to be cutting grass or anything like that, and having that be set for winter months, whereas in the summertime, we don't want trailers left on it, kind of a thing? Is that possible?
Mr. Weyers, any operational concerns from that perspective?
For the vessels leaving there, I think the only one consideration we had is I believe we had a security light down there. And for the neighborhood, I think we may have taken one side of the globe to kind of shield that from the neighborhood downriver, because we do have a security light that's there. We really don't plow or really go in there at all, other than if there was an emergency or they needed to use the launch to get to Sugar Island or something. The airboat from the sheriff's department may have used that one time.
It's my understanding that the folks that leave their boats there carry their own insurance?
That is what we ask of them.
Okay. Okay, and that's all in writing that
we require that, and we do have an agreement, okay. Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Talentino?
Dan, what kind of revenue do we generate from this?
Revenue, again, to my knowledge, officially since roughly 2012 and 13, I did get some numbers. 2013 was the biggest year, and again, this is a bit unofficial, was the $1,295. That was the 2013-14 year. And then a couple of years after that, 245 and 15, 735 and 16. 490 last year. So for 2014 through 2017, approximately $2,765 for 4 years.
We have a lot of administrative time rolled into a couple $1,000 over those many years, with complaints and putting out fires. When tarps blow off, you got to go down. I'm sorry, I just can't see it financially being worth us doing that.
Commissioner Baker.
I was gonna, $35 seems pretty like a really good deal. I don't know if maybe administration can go back and look at comparables to storage rates and maybe look at increasing those rates for those people, because
Do we know if that's competitive with the normal storage of?
Originally, we looked, I believe the commission may have looked at that back in the day when the commission set the fees, but it was, I know the issue is also, where do we want to be able to do that as a service to our boaters and to our boating public versus also not wanting to compete with the local businesses. So the $35 was, I believe, something that was just reasonably come up with, and that's for any size vessel, Commissioner. So it could be, you know, if the commission chose, the bigger the boat, it could be by the foot, could cost more, but just across the board, $35 is what it was. So we really didn't dig too far.
The only concern I have is that Mr. Essen, you know, he helped the city with initially when Bud was there, and he's had that available to him for 20 years or so, which certainly is something that is a bit of a payback type of thing for his work, but until he no longer owns the boat, because his is awful large, and if he's already pulled down lines, I'm not sure how you can get, without raising lines, his boat out of there. And when you go by, that one boat sticks out because it's pretty good size, and it's not unsightly to me, but if we can take care of the other stuff, I don't know if, but we party can't do it for one and not for others if they so wish. So it'll be up to the commission to decide how you, let's go to Commissioner Tuardi and then we'll go to Commissioner Collins.
Thank you. I understand Commissioner Talentino's issue with the blight, and the city is usually under attack for not cleaning up our own stuff when we hold high standards to other people. I would actually be willing to entertain an idea to just grandfather in Mr. Essen because he doesn't have the ability to take his boat anywhere else. I don't want to compete with R&R Marine and everybody else who does boat storage. I don't really feel like that's what we're in the market for. And I have seen multiple comments about how great it looks down there this summer, so I want to make sure that we're able to keep it cleaned up. And maybe we just, you know, allow Mr. Essen to park his boat down there as a favor to all the things that he did for the city, and, you know, and then just kind of keep it the way that it is, where we don't allow anybody else, and they've known since the beginning of the season. I was concerned about the liability, but if we're making sure that they're all carrying their own insurance, then.
My only question to the city attorney, is that something as a city we can single out one person for the help that we received?
Well, someone mentioned, I think it was Mr. Minor mentioned that you'd know if the city could legally rent space. Well, the city can legally rent space. You could have a rental program associated with outdoor boat storage for any space you want. If you decide to phase out of that business, there would be no legal issues with exceptions being granted during a period of phase out.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I understand that.
So he's saying then phase out and grandfather in? Okay.
Commissioner Gary.
So the rates down there are not governed by the Waterways Commission, correct? We set those?
For the winter storage?
No, for the marina itself.
The marina waterways sets those.
Okay. Oh, they do?
Yes.
Okay. So we couldn't work out some type of an arrangement where they pay an annual fee for their slip, and that includes the storage if they need be? I mean, it makes sense that I don't think we can give privilege to one person and not the others, because it's my understanding there were at least 4 people that have been parking their boats down there for a while.
Only 3 people left that helped initially when Wes was talking.
I think I got a call from a couple of people, and there were at least 4 boats down there.
Oh, it might be 4, but
Yeah.
the 4 that helped put the original, dug the trenches and put the lines in, he's got their names, and you can provide them to Mr. Wires, but he's the only one left that has.
I don't agree with anybody putting, and bringing their 18-foot pontoon boat down there for storage, but if they rent a slip and are a frequent user of the marina, I don't think I'd have a problem with them being able to store their boat on site. I think that would be a good benefit and probably a draw to bring more sales to the slips. Maybe, I don't know if there's some reasonable compromise that we could figure out.
Okay. Commissioner Baker?
Yeah, I was just gonna say if we,
You might
maybe
want
we
to raise your mic too, because that, just so that
refer it back to the city administration to do some research on the slip owners at the marina that would be interested in storing their boat in the wintertime, and then just keeping it clear in the summertime for grass and whatnot like that. And checking comparable.
Commissioner Collins?
So Dan, how many boats actually did we have down there last year?
I believe there were close to 7, maybe 8 boats at one point in time, and I believe we were only collected from about 4.
Okay.
3 or 4 because of the shrink wrapping. I went down there to snap photos to get license plate numbers, and there was nothing there unless I started getting into the shrink wrap. So this is where the issue started to come up. So I think one way or the other, we need to make sure that they're MC numbers.
So I guess just so I make my point clear is that I definitely agree with Commissioner Torti and also Commissioner Talentino as far as keeping the facility clean and looking nice during the summer months. I don't think boat storage during the wintertime is really going to affect that. Like you said, you don't even go in there to snowplow. And then to Commissioner Gary, my understanding is that it was only offered to people that actually had a slip down there. And then the issue is that they didn't have a way to identify who actually paid and who didn't. That's why they couldn't do anything with the 3 other boats that showed up. So that's why the idea was if you are paying for a slip and you are going to have your boat stored there, make sure your MC numbers are visible, because if your boat's there and there's not an MC number, we're going to tow it away, right? So to me, the way I look at it is when I said it was a service that we provide, it's because of the fact that they're actually renting the seasonal slips for us when it went from the transitional to the seasonal. And personally, I like that idea, especially the fact you're only dealing with a couple boats anyways. Most people that have a smaller boat aren't gonna store their boat outside. So I'd like to actually just, I don't know if I can do this for you guys. I guess, and Commissioner Baker, I don't think that it really needs to go back to administration for them to research who actually was utilizing it, because we're only dealing with people that are actually slip owners or that had a slip. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What were you? Go ahead. Sorry.
I was referring to out of how many people have the slips there that pay for the slips, who out of them who would be interested in storing theirs? Like if there were 7 boats there in a slip, 4 of them would want to keep their boats here in the winter. Like, would it be?
Yeah, my understanding from talking to you, you're only looking at about 3 of them, because the majority of them are already going to be shooting them down a detour to get them taken out of the water.
Currently, I would say there's 3 to 4 that are interested. Some of them have moved because we did, by way of the commission, we did share that with them this spring. So some of them have made other arrangements. And for the commission also, we have also let the folks that are not a marina, they're in the marina. We've had other just community people that have come down and paid the winter storage. That's never been a caveat, so it could be.
And not to muddy the water, Mr. Essen kept his boat at Harvey Marina until when the water level went higher. Now he's able to take it to his house and keep it there in the summertime, but brings it back to the marina and then stores it there. Okay.
Is there a way to maybe do it to where we set it up? Because I know we did that during the budget process, and to be honest with you, I don't remember that even being part of it, so I must have missed that.
Okay.
Right? Dan actually and the city manager made me aware of that. So
Maybe.
can we make a motion just to, what's your guys' thought? Like, how do you, what's the?
The motion that currently, but it's not seconded at this point, is that we turn it back over to the city administration. And there's enough questions, I think, that they understand the purview of what we're trying to do, and maybe we should, or do you want to vote on a particular motion? City manager?
Thank you, Mayor. Just for clarification, my understanding, there's no motion on the floor at this
Oh,
time.
there's no motion. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Collins, let's go to Commissioner Tuardi, and then we'll if you want to make a motion after, we can do something.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I actually like Commissioner Collins' idea, if you, and Commissioner Gary, if you rent a slip, you can store your boat if that, I mean, if we're willing to offer that. So I think that would be your motion.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Commissioner Talentino first.
I think if this goes down that way, there's gonna have to be some pretty strict rules on when it comes in, when it comes out, and if there's a single trailer in that place. Because I'll be watching it. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm on the blight thing. So if we're gonna go down that road, there's gonna be some rules, I think, that we're gonna have to go by and maintain.
Commissioner Collins? Oh.
Well, I was gonna make a comment, because I think that's ironic, that, because the people that are actually storing the boat there are gonna be putting their boat in the marina right there, right? So anybody that doesn't have their boat in the water obviously has a slip at the marina, otherwise they're being towed. So, but I'm glad you're looking, that's awesome.
Okay. Commissioner?
So, can we make a motion then to?
You can make a
Or
motion
do you wanna
anytime.
do it done?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask a question. How are you gonna accommodate somebody that has too large a boat to go to storage or to go anywhere else, like Mr. Essen, but doesn't keep it in our marina? Is there
Well,
gonna be a higher rate or different circumstance, or how do we?
I think for him, it's kind of grandfathered in because of the past, so I don't know if we can make an exception on that or not.
But what if there were others? I don't know. And the
Yeah,
other-
there aren't any others that we
Yeah.
know of.
He had his hand up too. I don't know. I know it's out of order, but he had a question, I think, if you wanted.
Do you have a question or comment, Wes? Okay. No.
My,
Okay. Commissioner Collins, would you again state the motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we provide slip owners at the marina the opportunity to store their boat at the marina
For an annual fee.
for an annual fee, whatever. And right now, I believe it was $175, or, right, for the year. And I would say that the storage goes from October 15th to May 15th is kind of the thought process, if you want to look at a timeline.
I'll support it.
Did you say you support that? Okay, so by May 15th at least, then the boat should be in the water? Is that what you're saying?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Does anybody think that the fee should be higher than $175? And my thought
No.
process is that they're already they already have a seasonal slip. So it's an incentive for them to come in and actually get the seasonal slip. So do we really want to gouge them? And so that's why if we say it like $175, $200, somewhere in that range. What's your thought?
If I understand what you're saying, then the fee to store is $175 or $200 because they've already paid for a slip.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's in addition to the slip.
Yes.
Okay. Everybody understand the motion? Commissioner Gary?
And would you have a higher rate for somebody that doesn't have a seasonal slip, that would need the storage? Or would we exclude that?
Well, the
No
thing
such
is,
thing.
Like Mr. Essen?
No. Well,
He doesn't have a
because he
seasonal
worked there
slip.
and made it happen. That's what, he would be the grandfather?
my understanding is he never paid. He just was able to store it there. So do we grandfather him in, or do we, how do you get, is there a way to do that? Or is that a separate, I mean, that's actually a separate thing, right? So,
City manager?
Thank you for that, Mayor and Commissioner discussion. Certainly it'd be
Straighten this
possible
out.
to identify a select number of spaces on site that could be available, taking into account the number of slips that people are renting and past instances like this. That would be my thought process, but something that would need to be explored. $35 a month would equate to about $245 for the time period of October 15th through May 15th, that the commission wished to establish a payment upfront.
so, okay, I'll amend my motion then to $245 from October 15th to May 15th. Paid up front. You take it out on February 15th, it's still $245. The only thing that I want to be careful of is I really don't want to open it up to anybody that does not have a slip at the marina. So if you're, and I'm not sure if that's what you were articulating, is that where you're going to look to see if there's any space to do that? So I think what we have to do is we have to look at his situation different than what I'm talking about right now, because I don't think you can commingle them.
Thank you, Commissioner. And to clarify, those number of spaces could become eligible for having a slip at the marina, if the commission's pleasure.
Okay, you lost me on that. Say it again.
Right, if somebody has a slip at the marina, then they could become eligible for a spot of storing a vessel on site.
Gotcha. Okay.
Commissioner Baker.
I was just gonna say, as far as the price structure, I think that should technically go back to city administration for review, just to make sure that, like Don said, bigger boats that can't get in, whatnot, but could we just allow it for this year till we figure out a good, solid game plan for our slip owners and for people like Mr. Estes as well, with the bigger boats, whether we charge them more or not, but have city administration review the price structure of it and allow them one more year.
Yes.
I thought you already did that.
That's not a bad idea, if I might say, that allow one more year with the current structure that we have, as long as they have their, we call them MC numbers?
Yeah, MC numbers.
Visible. I mean, we can certainly just do that like right away. And then look at next year in the budget session and see about just a one particular item, person with the boat left of the four people that helped dig the trenches and lay the lines. And then anyone else then would have to come under a different structure, boat fee wise, type of thing. Just leave as it has been over the past 20 some years for 1 year. And let the administration work on an answer. Is that what you're saying? Instead of the motion that was currently on the floor?
Yeah, that was just more for discussion and see what everyone else thought
How
about
do
that.
they feel about that? Because then we can Greg made the motion and you seconded it, so you could always withdraw and make another motion, I guess.
My thought process is just because the timing was that we would do the 245 from October 15th to May 15th for slip owners this year. Obviously, we always have the right to go back and adjust the rates, right? So that would go back to, and I did talk with the city manager and Dan Wires about the rates prior to this. So the $35 is kind of what per month was where they're at. I really want to stay away from the monthly thing though, because I think that's more of an administrative pain in the keister as well. So from a policing standpoint, it should be pretty simple, right? I mean, you go by, the boat's got an MC number. If there's only supposed to be 4 boats there, and now there's 5, and there's no MC number, you don't have to worry about contact in person, you just yank their boat.
Okay. Commissioner Gary.
Just wanted to ask one question of city manager, and maybe it's of Dan. Were there any people that stored their boats there last year or have in the last few years that didn't have a slip that will fall through the cracks?
I would defer to Mr. Wires on that. Thank you,
I
Commissioner.
believe, Commissioner, we did have at least one. At least one, if not 2.
So which question?
Well, I think if we're going to reassess and change back to the way we were, we should accommodate for
Include
at least
those
one
or two.
or 2, whoever had previously stored them there, at least until we get our policy straight.
So change the motion to include anybody that stored their,
Boats previously.
For last year.
well, I still want to keep the motion in place. I just want to add that will include the grandfathered in the people that rented space prior.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there support? And then we'll
Last year.
Yeah.
You're going to grandfather in.
Grandfather, anybody that wasn't a slip owner or a slip owner that rented last year or storage, yeah. Rent storage, yes.
Was there support to the motion? Commissioner Baker?
Support.
You support that? Okay. So we have motion and support. Does everybody understand the motion?
Not entirely.
Not even a little bit.
Want me to repeat it?
You understand the motion, right? Okay. Are there any questions? And again, the marina is looking very good, and we have those things, and we'll keep working toward making it even better. Commissioner Miller.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment.
Okay.
I don't think the city should be in the business of renting out slips or storage in the wintertime and also. When I vote no, that's why.
Oh, you're gonna vote no, you mean? You haven't voted yet? Okay.
When I vote no.
Okay, is there anyone else? Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
No.
Commissioner Talentino,
No.
Commissioner Twardy,
God, this is hard.
We need a vote.
Yeah, yes.
Mayor Bosphus,
Yes.
Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins.
Yes.
Motion carried, 5-2. Thank you.
Thanks for allowing me to talk so much again.
Okay, thank you.
3
I-
minutes.
Item 2 under communications is
Come on
from
up.
the Community Improvement Committee, development of public engagement strategy regarding rental properties.
Okay, thank you. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. As commissioners are aware, the Community Improvement Committee held a meeting on September 5th during which the existing rental registration program was discussed at length. Members of the committee unanimously agreed that it would be appropriate for the city to develop a comprehensive and multifaceted engagement strategy to receive feedback from the public and the entire community regarding the existing rental registration program and alternatives to same. Critically, this engagement strategy should emphasize civility in an effort to reach a broad range of stakeholders, the deliberate development of well-researched public policy, and transparency. The committee members also agreed that the city should consider the implementation of a rental inspection program with recurring city-conducted inspections. The aforementioned engagement strategy could be used to solicit feedback from the community on how frequently recurring inspections would occur, how long property owners would have to remedy problems, how property owners may be encouraged to maintain compliance, and other elements of program design. It should be noted that an inspection program could be coupled with a self-certification program for properties with a demonstrated history of code compliance. Further, the committee discussed the possibility that a rental inspection program may have benefits for property owners and landlords in that a well-crafted program may protect against tenant retaliation and prevent situations in which landlords feel as if they have to lie on current checklist. Such a program could also be designed to incorporate additional services, such as proactive inspections conducted free of charge, and increase the likelihood that a landlord can be on site during a recurring inspection. As commissioners are aware, the public purpose of any rental program is to safeguard the public health, safety, and welfare, a key responsibility of government. Providing for regular inspections of rental housing will, over time, also increase the quality and therefore safety of this type of housing within the city. Implementing such a program would place the city of Sault Ste. Marie in line with its peer communities and specifically those with which it is competing for talent and investment. Finally, members of the committee concur that additional staffing would be needed to administer an inspection program. Cost of property owners would need to be considered, but such cost may be impacted by the design of such a program, as informed by the engagement strategy. In specific regards to the strategy, it may be possible for the city to utilize a combination of surveys, focus groups, and public open houses to engage stakeholders and receive feedback vital to the deliberate development of improved policy. Accordingly, it is my recommendation that the City Commission direct City Administration to design a public engagement strategy that would be utilized to receive feedback from the community at large regarding the existing rental registration program and the implementation of a rental inspection program. Thank you, Mayor and Commission.
Okay, thank you. And we know over the last several meetings, we've had a lot of discussion on the rental registration program that currently exists. Certainly, on behalf of the Commission, I'd like to thank the administrative staff for taking the time, and I believe the information provided is very thorough, and it's just a stepping stone at this point to see what we could maybe hopefully improve on the process. With no guarantees at this point, but certainly the input of the community is very important. We'll need to hear from all sources in the community. We feel strengthening the housing market as was suggested, and also for the safety and well-being of our residents. Things like this be considered. So, Commissioner Baker.
Yeah, I'm okay with having a rental inspection program. My only concern with this, and I hope that the city administration moving forward will take a look into this, is what about the people that aren't registering their places? How do we seek them out? Because I feel like the more rules and regulations that we put on property owners, they're going to be less likely to even register as a rental. And I think that's part of, I know part of the problem was that these people were getting fined, and then yet you have these people who haven't registered that we don't even know it's a rental, and their place looks like that, and they're not getting fined. So just moving forward, I hope that the city administration looks into how we can try to figure that out. I don't know how you do it.
City manager.
Thank you for those comments, Commissioner. It's a point well taken, and after our discussion on that topic, met with city staff to review possible methods. And I know certainly as if the engagement strategy moves forward, that would certainly be something we would research.
Okay. Commissioner Collins.
So just so that I'm clear, so the engagement strategy is we're not actually saying that we're going to implement a rental inspection program. We're going to get community input and see if this is the direction we want to go. And the second part of what I'd like to ask, I guess, is 2 meetings ago when we had the property owners here, we basically, sorry, wow. 2 meetings ago, we had property owners that were here, and we told them that we were going to send it to the Community Services Board, and once they met, we were going to set up a special meeting for them to come and talk to the commission. So obviously, this is not going to supersede that. This is going to be part of the strategy as far as to get community input, but are we still going to have, I'm hoping, that special meeting with them, because that's what we said we were going to do.
We certainly are, and I can answer that question because we said we were going to do that, but city manager, won't you continue?
Certainly. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner. To the first point, that is correct. This would be for the purpose of gathering information, feedback from the community, the various stakeholders, for provision to the City Commission to determine the direction that the Commission would like to move with this program. The second point, that is correct as well. Meeting could certainly be a part of the engagement strategy. The open houses may also provide a format for that. So an open house would be a period of time lasting, for example, from 4 p.m. until 8 p.m. or another time frame of hours to catch people who may work irregular shifts. So that may also work to be able to have people be able to come and go as they please, have in-depth discussion with members of city administration. So there's certainly a number of options that could be pursued for engaging the public on this topic.
Mr. Collins?
So for me, just so we told them that we were going to hold a special meeting for them to be able to address the commission and specifically on this topic. So even once we do all our community outreach and we have all of that stuff, I still want to make sure that we have a special meeting to hear what they have to say.
Yes.
Because we said we were going to do it.
We will.
Okay.
And you keep checking because that will happen. Okay. And it may happen before we start. It should happen during the strategy. I would think of the time frame. A specific special meeting for property owner for rental property owners, and of course it's an open public meeting, so others can come too. Kind of thing. So, okay, that would be a special meeting where we actually have some time other than just a regular city commission meeting. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, we need a motion. Let's go to Commissioner Gary.
I make the motion to direct city administration to design a public engagement strategy to receive feedback from the community at large regarding the existing rental registration program and the implementation of a rental inspection program.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Are there any additional questions or comments? Commissioner Miller.
This motion is just to get feedback from the community. This doesn't put anything in place, right?
Yeah, exactly. There'll be a number of meetings, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Tuorty,
Yes.
Mayor Bosmas.
Yes.
Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Gary.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Item 3 under communications is from the Downtown Development Authority, authorization to enter into agreements with various property owners related to the CDBG facade grant.
Okay, thank you. And since 3 and 4 are related to the facade restoration program grants, I will have, since I may be involved in one of those properties, I will have the Mayor Pro Tem Gary take the next item 3 and 4, and I won't have any part of the discussion or voting. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. On this matter, DDA Director Knepper will present.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Commission. These are mostly housekeeping items. The subject line is a little bit misleading as the certified grant administrator. I'm just kind of preparing a lot of the paperwork, so the agreements actually will be made between the city and the property owner. Item 3 it's an agreement that has been included in your packet. It allows the city, the property owner, to feel comfortable that the city, as the grantee, will be receiving the funds to the city and then dispersing the funds to their various contractors and making sure that the project is paid for. It's not mandated, but it's strongly encouraged by the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, just to make sure that our property owners and the city both feel comfortable with how the money flows and where it's held, so on and so forth. So those would be 3 individual agreements made between the city and the owners of the Arfstrom Pharmacy building, the owners of the Alpha Bar, and the owner of the building that Carol McClellan owns down at 411 West Portage.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for DDA Director Knepper? I'm assuming that's one motion, City Attorney?
Yes.
Commissioner Twardy?
I'll make a motion to authorize the city manager to execute agreements with various property owners, including 411 West Portage, 105 West Portage, and 415 Ashman Street, regarding the acceptance of the escrowed funds and administration of the CDBG grants related to their properties.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Are there any questions or comments? Roll call vote.
Commissioner Talentino?
Yes.
Commissioner Twardy?
Yes.
Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Collins?
Yes.
Commissioner Gary?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Motion passed. Thank you. Item 4.
Item number 4 is also from the Downtown Development Authority, approval of a resolution authorizing the city manager as certifying officer for the CDBG grant application, City of Sault Ste. Marie Facade Improvement Project.
City Manager.
And again, Mr. Knepper. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. This item, we actually may have taken action on this early this spring. I wasn't able to find it in the minutes, but there's a specific draft resolution that is required in the final application to get grant authorization from the state that officially names the city manager or the mayor as the certifying grant officer. Because of the mayor's involvement, the city manager makes the most sense for being in the official resolution, and he would be executing the grant agreements we just voted on between the property owners, as well as continuing to sign all of the official state documents for these grants throughout the grant period.
Does anybody have any questions for DDA Director Knepper? Commissioner Baker?
Make the motion to authorize resolution designating the city manager of City of Sault Ste. Marie as the certifying officer, the person authorized to certify the Michigan CDBG application, and the person authorized to sign the grant agreement and payment requests.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions for Director Knepper? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Twardy?
Yes.
Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Collins?
Yes.
Commissioner Gary?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino?
Yes.
Motion passed. Thank you.
Item 5 under communications is from the Economic Development Corporation, approval of the expansion of the free trade zone number 16.
Okay. Again, thank you for that, Mayor Pro Tem Gary. Item number 5, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. On this matter, EDC Director Holt will present.
Evening, Jeff.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity. Okay. Our community is housed a foreign trade zone. Some call it the free trade zone also. for quite some time, since I believe 1972. And sadly enough, it has not been utilized accordingly over the years. There's been very little activity. But with the advent of increased duties and the tariff program that has been recently introduced in Washington, it has shined a new light on the need for more competitive areas in our communities for the imports of materials. Our current foreign trade zone is limited in space and in ownership. What I'm proposing is to allow the entire county of Chippewa to be a foreign trade zone. Specifically, it'll be an alternative site operation, which means it's an extension, excuse me, of our foreign trade zone. This will allow many things to happen. And I've spoken to the director of the program in Washington, D.C. I met with her in Detroit last week, and she's very favorable of the expansion of foreign trade zones. Obviously, a couple of national benefits for expanding foreign trade zones. It reduces cost of the raw material. It improves competitiveness. It can reduce help business reduce transactions, logistics-related costs by reducing or lowering duty rates. And it also, on a national basis, creates and retains jobs and encourages investment. Our benefit, in my opinion, is that there are a couple of options for importers and for, in our specific discussion, steel products. There'll be no duties on goods that are imported to the foreign trade zone and exported. You can delay payment of duties. You can eliminate duties on waste, scrap, and rejected or defective parts. And we can reduce merchandise processing fees, and that's a customs operation that we'd work with them as well. We reached out to a firm that specializes in the application process, and they have indicated that they have done 60 or so of these expansions in the past few years, and they can do it for a cost of $3,000. I've applied for a grant through the UPCDC, which is a local UP branch of MEDC, and they have tentatively approved they have for a $3,000 grant for us to pay for the cost of this item. When I mentioned to the national director that we would like to include outlying areas, they recommended the entire county. That's how they normally do things. It makes things cleaner and more efficient for the process. We will, anyone outside of the city limits will be charged a fee. We'll be working on that as well. We're talking with other foreign trade zones and annexes in the state and getting their opinion on how they do things, because this has been done downstate, so it won't be a free process. That's.
City Manager, you have anything to add?
Thank you for that presentation, Mr. Holt. Just would emphasize from my perspective that the opportunity would be there to establish a fee structure for those firms operating outside of city limits, and it represents one further collaboration with Chippewa County, whereas our collaborative efforts have been expanding over the past several years.
Yep.
And I think all of us know the foreign trade zone has been there for an awful long time and not a whole lot of activity, so that if we can expand and create additional opportunities and additional employment, that's certainly a worthy thing to do, and it only benefits our total area, including Chippewa County and the eastern UP. So, Commissioner Collins.
Just a question for the city manager. The fee structure you're talking about as far as the outside city limits, how would that, just as hypothetical, how would that be set up structurally?
Thank you for that question, Commissioner. I would actually defer to EDC Director Holt on this.
From what has been gathered is that it's based on the amount of traffic that the manufacturing firm or the firm utilizing the foreign trade zone status generates. In other words, if they have 1 or 2 shipments a year, that would be less than someone having 15 or 20 or 40 shipments a year. And that's one of the reasons we're talking to other annexes around the state to determine what kind of cost that we can't allow to charge. There are some federal regulations that we haven't got to the bottom of those yet, but our firm that we're hiring will guide us into that process. But we're not going to have a burden of additional costs. That's going to be passed on.
I'm sorry, did you say that there's federal regulation that doesn't allow us to charge them?
No, there are guidelines, from what I understand, on what we can charge.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else? Do we have a motion? Commissioner Collins?
Sure. Make a motion to approve the expansion of the free trade zone number 16 to encompass all Chippewa County of Michigan.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Are there any additional questions or comments? Thank you. Mr. Holt?
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Bosmas?
Yes.
Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Collins?
Yes.
Commissioner Gary?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino?
Yes.
Commissioner Tuarty?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Item 6 under communications is also from the Economic Development Corporation. Award a bid for HVAC system at Sanderson Field.
Okay, thank you. Jeff standing there, but I'll go to the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, Mr. Holt.
Okay, thank you again. The terminal building for our city airport, the heating and cooling system is about 20 years old. And the past several months, it has shown some signs of not working properly. And recently, it's completely stopped working. We had an expert come in and examine the system, and they could do a more extensive examination for several $1,000s, but it was highly recommended that we replace the existing system. We worked with the city on the bid process, and we put the project out for bid to replace the heating and cooling system in the building, and we came back with one bid from Albert's Heating and Cooling for $13,628. There were 2 others that we reached out to personally, and they chose not to submit a bid at this time. We again went through the bid process through the city, and they are now currently using air conditioning on a window unit that doesn't exactly handle the heat too well. And come wintertime, they won't have any heat. So this is a bit of an emergency for us.
Anyone have any questions of Jeff? City manager, any additional?
Nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Commissioner Baker.
Motion to award the bid for the purchase and installation of a Bryant, do I need to do all that? Can I skip all that? 987MA66100V21, 100,000 BTU, 98% efficient, fully modulating gas furnace with an ECM motor and a Bryant 189BNV048 4-ton variable speed, 9-seer condenser and evaporator coil for a total cost of $13,628 from the sole bidder, Albert Heating and Cooling of Sault Ste. Marie, and to establish a budget for this expenditure of $13,700 in the general fund capital equipment airport line item with the funding to come from TIFA 3.
Support.
That was a pretty good motion. Thank you. Yeah. Are there any questions? We have a motion and support. Any questions? Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Collins?
Yes.
Commissioner Gary?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino?
Yes.
Commissioner Tuarty?
Yes.
Mayor Bospas?
Yes. Motion carried. Thank you.
Item 7 under communications is presentation from Malcolm Park Pride Working Group, co-chairs Kevin Pomeroy and Linda Beauvais.
Okay, thank you. City manager. Okay, yeah.
At this point, I will defer to the presenters, after which I'd be glad to clarify the motions in front of the City Commission.
Excellent.
Good evening,
Kevin.
Commissioners. I do not park my boat over at the marina. I just want to let you know that right up front. I put it in my heated garage. Thank you for meeting with us tonight. It's been a few months since we came to you and talked about the project that we wanted to undertake, so I want to give you an update of our fundraising and also the other things that we've been working with through the city.
Sure.
We have become a 503c status through Chippewa County Community Foundation, Debbie Jones' organization, and that allows any donations that are given to our organization the ability to be tax deductible. It also gives us a check and balance for expenses and revenues coming in. You all were aware of the first fundraiser that we had, which was the kickball extravaganza. Everybody that was involved in it, the feedback was fantastic. The people that played in it had a great time. Any of you there that were there and saw the rainy games where people were slipping and sliding and vertical and then coming down, it was interesting. We did move the games out to the grass area, and we're a little safer while it was raining, and then we were able to bring the last few games back onto the infield when it had dried up. But I'd like to thank Abby Baker, Stacy Post, and Adam Gurnall. They were the three main people that organized the event. There was also a number of other people that helped with organization, and then the day of the event, helping out with the volunteerism. Due to the amount of Facebook and social media that was out there, we not only raised funds at the kickball tournament, but raised funds from people that reached out wondering what was going on with Malcolm Park. Interesting, one group was the two sons and the daughter of Mr. Malcolm, who the park is named after. And they gave us a $4,000 donation after finding out that the community was coming together and the group was coming together and starting this renovation project.
Excellent.
So I really think that once we start our next set of fundraising, that it's really going to gain momentum. We've just started reaching out to local businesses and other areas in town, and we've already received over $7,000, and we haven't received the money yet, but we've been told we're going to be receiving funds from different various businesses in the town.
Excellent.
We've been working with Dan Wires and Jim Moreau with an asset plan up there, evaluating everything up in the park, whether it's in need of replacement or what exact condition, if it can be fixed up or it needs to be completely replaced. I know Dan's worked a number of hours in the last month or so on that project. Jim Moreau has identified a number of smaller projects that are going to be undertaken from both us and the city over the next year to two, that are a bunch of small projects in the overall aesthetics of the park really add up. I know one they're working on right now is between Canistel Field and Dayfield with the drainage and identifying the parking area. And I was up there this afternoon, and it's really shaping up, and it's going to look very nice. We have a brochure that we've been out and pushing, and what we've done is identified numbers, a level of giving. Like if you want to adopt a field, it's $15,000. A Grand Slam's $2,500 for a home run, and so far down, to allow all the way down to other. So, you know, in this situation, no gift is too small. It really is, if every little bit adds up. I don't know if many of you are aware, but Rotary organization is going to be building restrooms up there. They've already run the laterals, the city has, for water and sewer over to next to Project Playground. And so that is going to be built next year and hopefully up and running by this time next year. Our projections for our project is we want to be done fundraising by the first of the year, meeting with architects and meeting with the city and getting the preliminary estimates in and hopefully breaking ground in the spring. I'll let Linda explain one very exciting bit of news that we received from the state of Michigan just about 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Evening, Linda. Linda, if you'd identify yourself for the record.
Linda Beauvais from the Malcolm Park Committee, and thanks, Kevin. So, with some advisement from the city administration and some help from Justin Knepper and a few others, we applied for a public spaces, community places crowdfunding grant. And we found out, as Kevin said a couple weeks ago, that we were pre-approved for up to $50,000. And this will greatly boost our efforts in building the restroom concession building by Losey Field on the south end of the park. And the original directions, I'm a very specific person, so I followed directions, but they didn't actually approve they wanted you to apply for a very specific project, and they said we didn't quite qualify under those ramifications. So a gal from Lansing has been very helpful to Kevin and me, and we broadened our scope of what we want to do at the park. And it was already stuff we had planned, but we didn't know we could include all that in the grant. And so I forwarded a long explanation of our goals and objectives to the state and this committee that makes these decisions. And the city manager has seen that document. It may be in your packet. And based on that, we did get the pre-approval. So we're very excited about that. And because it's a more exhaustive plan and goal, and it's kind of required to meet their criteria, we included the Jim Morrow's assessment plan for the park. And we also, well, we had to wait for that. And then we're also going to rely on approval from this commission, hopefully. And then we'll finish the site. We have the site partially built. That's how you apply to get on it. And we'll finish that and then move forward with our fundraising. We have completed, based on their requirements, the renderings of the restroom project and the assessment management plan. We have begun contacting potential donors, and as Kevin mentioned, we have quite a bit of money raised already. And then our goal launch date is October 1. We may not quite make that, but we have a 40 to 60 day window to raise our money. So we have to have all these steps in place before we even start the fundraising project. The things I need to do once I'm ready to finish the site are finish a video that Jim Lahaki is helping us with, do some site edits, and create some social media links. That's not stuff that's all that time consuming or hard, but it's just the final steps we need to complete the grant process. And then we wait for full approval, and then we can launch the site.
Wait, if I'm understanding everything, the committee's been very busy. Certainly the kickball extravaganza was a huge success, and lots of money raised, and over 20,000 by 25,000. That may be including the Malcolm gift too. But if I understood you correctly, then we're going to have bathroom facilities near the playground, Project Playground. We're going to have new bathroom facilities near Losey Field. Is there still the pavilion and the concession stuff? Where in that location going?
excuse me, that is the pavilion and concession is going to be over by Losi Field, which will also service the 2 softball
Is that
fields.
on the grassy area between Losi Field and where we are doing the kickball stuff and the rest of the ball diamonds? Or is it south of
It's
Losi?
over there by, it hasn't, the exact location hasn't been determined yet, but
Okay.
it's kind of where the batting cages are over by Losi Field.
Okay.
So it's behind the softball fields.
Yeah, so it's behind the
I-
softball fields
In
and
your
the side.
packets,
Okay.
did you see the
Oh, okay.
layout in it?
Okay.
Where we actually are going to put individual changing rooms for if you're playing men's or women's softball. So you can go up there, you can utilize a changing room. Before, people were changing in the bathrooms over at James Field or in their, in their cars, or, there really wasn't a nice, private, clean place to change. So part of the pavilion is changing rooms for softball people to use.
So signage will be important, that's going to be available eventually, and all the signage that'll
One of the
indicate where
things
those are.
I think people don't realize is James Field's bathrooms are probably the most used bathrooms in this city as far as for the walks and the bike path and the walkway.
Okay.
That is from daylight to dark, those restrooms are utilized, and we're hoping that the new pavilion and concession will take a lot of the pressure of those people that are walking in our community, and we'll be able to utilize those restrooms also, along with the rotary restrooms.
Sure.
Now all of a sudden, instead of just 2, you're going to have, we're looking at a 3-stall female and then a stall and urinals for male side restrooms. So a huge improvement from bringing rent-a-potties in.
Excellent. Yeah, you've been very busy. Let's go to Commissioner Baker and then Commissioner Tuardi.
I just want to thank Kevin and Linda and the rest of the Malcolm Park Pride Committee, as well as the city administration, Jim and Dan and Oliver. It's amazing what can be done in a short little bit of time when everybody's working together to get something done. So I'm very proud of the city and proud of the Malcolm Park Pride Committee, and I'm excited to see the future for Malcolm Park.
Okay.
My pipe dream is that we have a ribbon cutting next year for our facility, Rotary's facility, and a new storage facility, which is in the capital improvement plan. Because as we all know, the one on 8th Avenue there in Meridian is going to fall down if we don't replace it.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Tuardi.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to say, yeah, I agree with Commissioner Baker's comments. Thank you to you guys for all that you are doing. You're just really knocking it out of the ballpark with all your organization. And so to reiterate, because I was going to bring a donation for you guys tonight, but the time to donate is going to be anytime after October 1st, because that donation will be matched at 100% by the state of Michigan. So my $100 that I'm going to donate to you will be $200 from the state. So that's the time to get on. And what will be the name of the GoFundMe page or CrowdRise?
It's going to be through Patronicity, and that's the website. And so once we have it, we're going to be putting the link up on social media, and so please share it once you get the link. And like you say, that's where we're not going to be burdening the regular businesses and the people that are regularly hit. The person in their home that played ball there, both baseball and softball, or had their children play, they can make a difference with a $10 donation, and it gets us 20, or a $100 donation, it gets us 200. That's where it's so neat about this $5,000 or $50,000 grant. Is it gives everybody the ability to give and then also double.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that you get to that 50,000. So we'll just spread the word.
And that's up to $50,000 match.
Up to $50,000 match.
Yep.
Yes.
Excellent. Anyone else? City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Certainly, like many other comments, would like to say thank you to the committee. And the Patronicity program does tend to favor projects downtown, so I think that the fact that it has been tentatively green-lighted, I think, speaks to the quality with which they've prepared their materials. When I first saw them, I asked if they were looking for other grant opportunities to write, and they did
It's
such a great
Linda's
job.
writing, believe me.
And there are actually two motions associated with this. The first would be a motion to allow the Malcolm Park Pride Working Group to continue fundraising and to go live with the website for the Patronicity State Matching Grant, up to $50,000 for the project as presented. And the second motion would be to concur that once the fundraising goal of $40,000 from all sources are met by the Malcolm Park Pride Working Group for the detailed project, the city release the previously requested match of $20,000 from the Seal Estate Fund. And this second motion does not require a motion to reconsider, as was noted in the packet. It can be approved as a budget amendment. And this is a housekeeping matter
Okay.
related to its initial
In
approval.
discussion with the city manager, that can be one motion. Let's go to Commissioner Baker.
I'll make the motion to allow Malcolm Park Pride Working Group to continue fundraising and to go live with the website for the Patronicity State Matching Grant up to $50,000 for the project as presented, as well as a motion to concur that once fundraising goal of the $40,000 from all sources are met by the Malcolm Park Pride Working Group for the detailed project, that the city release the previously requested match of $20,000 from the Seal Estate Fund.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Are there any further comments or questions? Thank you, Kevin and Linda, for a fine presentation. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Tuarte,
Yes.
Mayor Bospas.
Yes.
Commissioner Baker.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, item number G is the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 1 under the city manager's report would provide for the award of a bid for a service pier and finger pier repair project at the George Kent Marina. On this matter, Director Wires will present to the commission.
Okay. Evening again, Dan.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners again. This project for the Kent Marina has been a couple of years in the process. Back in 2017, through the Michigan Waterways, we received a grant for $32,500, and then in 2018 for an amount of $10,000. In 2017, upon an inspection, we found that we had some bad service piers, a bad service pier, and also some finger piers. And then we applied for the grant. We did get the grant. And then we found out we had a couple more of the finger piers that went bad. So we went back for a second round of funding, and the state was very gracious in giving us more grant dollars for this program. And so it's been a couple of years. We put requests for proposals out for publicly for sealed bids. And in August 29th of 2018, we received one. This is a bit of specialty work. It is something where I've been in personal contact with Paul Peterson, the grants coordinator, probably more often than Paul would really care to, just to make sure that we're doing everything that we need to do on our end to get this project done. And so we did reach out to at least one more vendor, Great Lakes Dock and Materials, who I personally called, gave them the information. They have bid on other projects. One note is the Flotation Docking Systems out of Cedarville is the initial contractor who did put the marina in the floating dock system back in 1998, I believe. So all said and done, we put this out to bid. Sealed bids came in with one bid totaling $110,150. Now, we have budgeted with both the 50-50 funding from the state and our own funds. Total budget is $85,000, and of that, $42,500 is city funds, $42,500 is state funds. And so, in speaking with Paul on this, he'd said that, you know, it's in our grant agreement that anything over and above this is the city's responsibility. So after talking to Paul, I did call Cody Carmichael of Flotation Docking, and he had commented, and he fully understood this. They're the folks we worked with to get the original estimate. And he says this is on the high side. He believes there's significant savings. He says, but we have to get there. You know, you don't know what the weather is going to be like. So this project would be up to the $110,000, $110,150. which puts us at a $25,150 shortfall. So this is where, in discussing it with the finance director, to get this job done, and it's been a few years, is to work with the general fund contingency line item to get this project completed. And once we able to get this started, it would be after we close the marina, but it would also be the thought line that we'd get not only the project done, but come well under that $110,000.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Wires? City Manager?
Nothing further. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Commissioner Miller, would you like to make a motion?
Sure. I'd like to move to approve a contract with Flotation Docking Systems Incorporated of Cedarville, Michigan, in the amount not to exceed of $110,150 for the service pier and finger pier repairs at the George Camp Marina B-24-18, and amend the project budget with an increase of $25,200 to come from general fund contingency.
Support.
It's been moved, supported. Questions? Commissioner Gary?
Just for 100% transparency, the city owns this asset, and I'm a member of Sioux Historic Sites, which manages this asset for the city, but I see absolutely no conflict. I wanted to get the city attorney's confirmation.
There is no conflict.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Let's go. We have a motion and support. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gary?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino?
Yes.
Commissioner Twardy?
Yes.
Mayor Bosphus?
Yes.
Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Collins?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Item 2, under the city manager's report, would provide authorization to solicit proposals for city facility promotions agreements. As commissioners are aware, the City Commission took action during the 2018 goal-setting process to establish a goal to aggressively market parks facilities, including the Polar and Malcolm Park, for expanded revenue opportunities. As commissioners are further aware, city administration is evaluating operational models that may provide for the ultimate establishment of a recreational coordinator or programmer position, although the structure of this is tentative at this time. Concurrently, the included promotions agent agreement has been developed in an effort to attract interest on the part of individuals or entities in promoting the use of city facilities such as the Polar and Malcolm Park for special events or other agreed-upon functions, through which additional revenues would be gained by the city. It is proposed that this effort initially be undertaken on a trial basis. In essence, the agreement would provide authorization to an individual or entity to attract special events and functions that are revenue-generating in nature, to coordinate with city administration on the availability of city venues for such events and functions, to operate the special events without depending upon city employees, to generate a revenue from such work, and to further generate income for the city of Sault Ste. Marie. If authorized by the City Commission, City Administration would release a request for proposals to solicit interest from qualified individuals or entities that may work to promote the use of city facilities for events and other functions as detailed. Importantly, it is expected that the use of any independent contractors for such purposes would complement the other efforts of city administration to enhance revenues and complement the work activities of any recreational coordinator position, should one be authorized by the City Commission. It is proposed and anticipated that the terms of any executed agreements with agents initially not exceed 12 months, and that the management fee would be received by any selected contractor would not exceed 17.5% to 20% unless warranted by special circumstances. Following the initial 12-month period with any selected contractors, this matter would be further analyzed for overall impact and success. In regards to the solicitation of interest, if this concept is approved by the City Commission, City Administration would develop and release an RFP document and return recommendations for promotions agent agreements to the City Commission for consideration. Selected parties would be subject to the terms and conditions of the included agreement unless otherwise negotiated prior to City Commission consideration. Accordingly, at this time, it is my recommendation that the City Commission authorize City Administration to develop and release a request for proposals from parties interested in entering into promotions agent agreements as presented. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Talentino.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize city administration to develop and release an RFP for parties interested in entering into promotion agent agreement as presented.
Support.
Then move supported. Any questions or comments? Certainly I know it's a goal. Commissioner Baker.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the city manager and city administration for working so hard on this. I think it's got great potential and increasing utilizing our parks and rec and hopefully generating some extra revenue for the city. It's a win-win in my opinion, so thank you for all your hard work.
Great. Just a comment too that I think we all here understand the impact that recreational opportunities can give to cities and growing wealth. It's apparent with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, the different activities that they have, and certainly all the activities that have occurred during the 350th anniversary. The city seems to never have been more busy and fuller. So if we can continue the momentum going forward, and the underutilization, I think we've spoken about openly since many years, but more succinct, I think, since looking at the Pullers opportunities, the Ball Diamonds opportunities, and many other opportunities that we have, Sherman Park, camping, and all kinds of things. So the kayak, there's one, you fix up a couple of islands, and of course, not taking any credit for fixing up the islands, certainly Dennis Doherty and that group, and then the people that use the facilities, and the Michigan kayak tournament that was here. Just tremendous undertakings, and they're starting relatively small, but at the same point, everyone that's come has enjoyed all the different activities, and I see those only growing. And if we can put a marketing person and they can keep growing these facilities' use, that's certainly a benefit to the community and the business community, and maybe getting people to come up here and live additionally. Just a win-win, as you said, for the community, and certainly it's been a priority of this commission. So kudos again to the city administration. I think the commission really thanks you for your diligence in going forward. And this, I know it's not going to be easy, but it's something that we haven't tried before. But you're doing an excellent job, I think, so far, and we'll go forward and see where it goes. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. We have a motion and support. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino?
Yes.
Commissioner Tuorty?
Yes.
Mayor Boskus?
Yes.
Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Collins?
Yes.
Commissioner Gary?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
And prior to concluding the city manager's report, just an update on a couple of matters. First, that the Power Canal Trail project, we anticipate that remaining on track for substantial construction starting in the spring of next year. We are anticipating that the groundbreaking ceremony will be held next spring when there's more clarity as to which contractor will be selected for the project, and once we're able to have some more clarity in regards to construction situations across the state at this time. And a secondary update, just would like to congratulate Department of Public Works Director Jim Morrow for being appointed to the statewide Drinking Water Advisory Council. This is appointment made under legislation adopted in the wake of the drinking water situation in Flint, and certainly congratulate him and believe that his knowledge base will be a benefit to the state. Thank you.
Okay, just maybe before you conclude, how about an update on, I get people asking all the time about the business spur, and any word on the lockout?
I would appreciate City Engineer Linda Basista coming up to provide an update.
Okay. I mean, we sit here with some great days going by, and we know it's, it's certainly a painful thing to see, but the people that are going to be affected are the business owners along that route, and certainly the DPW and snow removal this year. So, any news?
Good evening, Mayor, Commission. I'm afraid I have no more news than what people have heard on the news themselves, that the governor has appointed the Attorney General to look at the MDOT's language in their contract provisions with respect to labor dispute. Unfortunately, this is just probably going to take some time to hammer out, and So I don't anticipate a lot being done before winter hits on the spur project. I did have a discussion with the MDOT construction manager, asking him when he thought we would sit down and start working out the details with what gets buttoned up with the labor that is available to work with. And he didn't have a good plan yet. He wanted to wait and see how the labor or the dispute shook out, but I'm thinking that we'll have to sit down soon and just start talking about, assuming it doesn't get resolved before any paving can get done, as far as what's going to be left gravel and how deep and how far and those kinds of things. So we'll have to be discussing those fairly soon.
Okay. I know you've been busy trying to figure all this stuff out, so appreciate the updates. No good news yet.
No.
Okay. Commissioner Gary.
Will we have any recourse against the state at all? Because this is going to cost the city a lot of money. It's already costing all the business owners money. They're losing business because of this mess. I mean, this is just a mess. There's got to be something that we can do as a community, or all the communities band together. I don't know what kind of pressure we can exert on this situation, but it's a mess and it's costing money.
Yeah,
It's
I
tragic.
think we'll have to be looking into that along with the physical aspects of the spur.
Can we sue
How
them
much
for-
the additional cost is, because we are contributing 25% of the roundabout portion, and that obviously is going to be significantly impacted if it stays gravel throughout the winter, and will potentially lose work that was already accomplished and so on and so forth. So I think we'll have to look at our contract with MDOT and, see how it flushes out with MDOT's contract with the contractor, and make sure that they recognize we're a party to what happens.
And I did see an example in Sioux, Ontario of what you were talking about last time. If they leave the surface of the asphalt below, they had to do it over there, and they had to dig out around the, and they have asphalt around their catch basins, and it's kind of a mess.
Yeah.
But it obviously must work structurally, but
It works, but it's
yeah,
not the best.
It's not pretty, but
No.
yeah, it's a mess.
Okay. Thank you. And before we leave the city manager's status reports, how about an update on the new lock?
Thank you, Mayor. As I'm sure the commission is aware, and many in the community are aware, last week on Thursday, the U.S. House of Representatives did approve legislation which included the authorization for just over $922 million to build the replacement lock that has been discussed for many years. And this is something where it now heads to the U.S. Senate for concurrence, and then would be signed by the president. And just to note, this would provide the authorization. The allocation would need to be a secondary step to provide the funds for this type of project to move forward within the next cycle.
It's moving forward. That's the main thing. And it's looking better than ever, so we're being diligent on that project also. We don't have a whole lot to say other than we certainly support it, and we'll try and do what we need to do to make sure that happens here in the Sioux area and benefits. We know what the national benefits are, but certainly Eastern UP would be a tremendous boom, so. Great, thank you. Anything else?
Nothing further. Thank you, Mayor. Concludes the city manager's report.
Okay, do we have any status reports?
There are no status reports on the agenda for this meeting. Thank
Okay.
you.
Aye. Matters presented by the public. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to make a comment at this time? Justin?
Thank you. I just have a quick clarification on the resolution authorizing the city manager and certifying officer from earlier, mostly in regards to transparency, and also for what was just mentioned about the locks job. Since that news came up a few days ago, I've already had a number of calls from various potential investors, people that want to build, people that want to buy, and that means that there is going to be a continued pressure for grant applications for various economic development incentives. And one of the things that's happening on the state level, they want to see, more and more they want to see what's called a local match for these grants. If the state's saying, if we're putting in funding, we want to see a municipal or a DDA or other sort of local match for these projects. So just to make sure that everyone knew what was in that authorizing resolution, in order to get a local match for these CDBG grants that we just received authorization for the 3 buildings, we kind of came up with a creative match, which was based on funding that the city commission set aside a year or two ago for sidewalk repairs. There was about, I think, I talked to the city engineer the other day, somewhere between 40 and 60,000 that was placed in a fund for sidewalk repairs last summer, and the summer before we did a lot of sidewalk patching. So all the way from the farmers market down past Arsenal Pharmacy and even farther, we had replaced the city engineering department worked with the local contractor and replaced a number of pieces of sidewalk that was used for our local match. So thank you to the commission for continuing to fund even small projects like that. It helps us show that the state that we are investing locally in our downtown and other areas. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much. Item J, matters presented by the City Commission. Item K, closing of the meeting. Commissioner Gary.
I make a motion, we adjourn this meeting.
Support.
It's been moved, supported. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.